Good afternoon. I would like to thank you for the opportunity to provide testimony to the Senate Elections Committee regarding my experiences voting in the 2020 elections. Thank you for your patience as well, as public speaking is not my forte or in my comfort zone, but I believe this is too important to avoid. I am just an ordinary citizen, a wife, a mom, a taxpayer. Those that have known me for a while know that I've always stood for what is right, regardless of any allegiance. To me, this has nothing to do with partisanship. This has to do with doing the right thing. On the evening of June 23rd, 2020, I voted in the Democratic primary at the 12 Corners Brighton Elementary School. As I signed in, the poll watcher commented that my signature didn't match. I went to show ID to prove who I was and was told no ID was needed. I thought it was odd that nothing else was required, and frankly, I'm ashamed to admit that I forgot no ID was required in New York to vote. I never received any communication regarding my signature and didn't think much of it until I voted in the early morning on November 3rd, 2020 at the East Avenue Brighton Fire Hall. I was very tired and anxious about using writing instruments that had been used by many people, even though they were cleaning in between each voter. Stressed and tired, I signed my name in a rushed, jerky format, which in no way matched my signature. Remembering my experience voting in the Democratic primary, again, I asked if they would like ID. Even knowing there were no ID requirements, I was still off-put by this lack of verification. I thought surely, if there was no way my signature could be validated, there would be follow-up or concern. I can say with 100% certainty that either there was no signature verification, or if there was an issue with my signature, there was no follow-up. I did not understand or know the process that is used by Monroe County to verify signatures. As a concerned citizen, I contacted the Monroe County Board of Elections. This had nothing to do with any election fraud claims, and my call or actions were not promoted by any of this. Also, my call was prior to any of the hearings that ended up occurring nationwide. I have always been one that asks lots of questions. My interaction was completely upsetting, and I'm still astounded by what I perceived to be their lack of concern and almost combative demeanor with me. I first spoke with Karen and asked what the process is if a voter's signature does not match. I was told if there was an issue with my signature, they would have sent me a cure letter right away. I never received a cure letter. I asked, what if you do not receive a cure letter? And she transferred me to the supervisor, Maureen. I asked Maureen about the signature verification process and why it did not appear to be used. She did not seem interested in listening or answering my question. Maureen went on saying your signature could be whatever you want and commented on how sometimes people don't always sign the same way. As I asked further questions, she went on with what I considered to be threatening and intimidating language, saying that I could be charged with a federal offense and that I was making a mockery of the election. I can assure you, nothing could be further than the truth. I was going to make an in-person appointment. However, after being threatened, I did not feel comfortable meeting. I am still struggling to understand why we would not want voter ID and signature matching in our elections. I will note, I believe there is still a registered voter listed at our address that has not lived there since at least 2004. With no ID or signature matching, what is there to prevent someone from voting in their name, or anyone else for that matter? Obviously, there appears to be an issue with the voter roll, or at least at my address. I have no idea if my experience was limited or systemic in the 2020 election in Monroe County, or perhaps statewide or nationally. Again, this has nothing to do with party affiliation or some preconceived side. We should all be wanting to have faith in the integrity of our voting system. If an everyday person like me is treated this way, it does make you stop and question, what is going on? Why is it a hostile interaction? Never in my wildest dreams would I have expected how abused I felt and the mental anguish from my interaction with them. Citizens should not feel threatened by their elected officials. Senator Brooke, I sincerely hope, as a woman, you find this as egregious as I do and hope you take this into consideration when working on improving our elections and protecting our rights. How are people to feel comfortable and encouraged to participate when they feel threatened? Also, I think an earlier speaker did mention that democracy will not continue when people suffer personal attacks. I thank you for your time.
Boom.